I have the honor and pleasure of announcing the winner of the McNeil Award for this school year. Dr. Richard McNeil and his wife Carolyn were the extraordinarily generous supporters of Idlewild Arts, who provided the funding for the establishment of the Arts Academy about a year and a half after the school had separated from the University of Southern California. They continued to provide funds, extraordinary funds, during the critical startup period and the initial 7 years to see that this wonderful school was a beacon of excellence in arts education. When we established the awards traditions for the Academy, we asked Dr. McNeil if there were an award that he would like to name. He is in his 80s. Carolyn is gone now, in his upper 80s. Dick went to Harvard and Caltech and was a genius in the early space industry. And it was the funds from his company going public that he donated in large part to this institution. He requested that we honor the most outstanding graduating senior in all areas of our mission combined: pre-professional training in the arts, college preparatory academic studies, and positive personal growth. If you've been around this week, you've seen that we've offered awards in various pieces of it, and this is the McNeil Award for all three pieces together. This year's winner arrived at the Academy in the 10th grade from a small public high school in Coopeville, Washington. He is a perfect example of how the IAA environment combined with hard work can produce remarkable growth in a student. He indicated to me that he wasn't sure what to choose as a major when he came, but he was convinced by the moving pictures chair, Brad Battersby, that department was right for him. Luke Sherman credits moving pictures chair Isaac Webb as his most important mentor at IAA. He's also thankful for the wonderful opportunities that the department has offered him and grateful for Isaac's inspiration and advice. He finds John Goulding, the chair of humanities, and Chris Wegemer, a dorm parent and faculty member, insightful and friendly, and thanks them for their help. During his 3 years, Luke has taken advanced humanities courses, calculus, and advanced physics, as well as Spanish through level 4. He directed a film, served as director of photography on 2 others, and counts 13 different films on which he crewed or worked. He's been a prefect this year, served as a writing and math tutor, has been an officer in the National Honor Society. Just last Thursday, he was awarded one of the Rotary Good Citizenship Scholarships from the Rotary Club in Idlewild. In just a few weeks, Luke will be joined by Devin Gilpatrick and Sheldon Hawthorne, guided by faculty member Ira Abrams, using a special grant from the school's Arts Enterprise Lab to travel to Ethiopia to prepare a film documentary relating the volunteer efforts of dentists and dental students from Loma Linda University as they provide free dental services to improve the lives of people in a remote and underprivileged part of the world. Luke heads to the University of California at Santa Cruz next year, and it is really my pleasure and an honor to introduce him to you as the 2011 winner of the Richard H. McNeil Award. Luke.
I don't know how to compete with yesterday's speeches. They were just so funny and lively. You guys were there. My speech is a little unconventional in that I'm not going to talk about my experiences because I think my individual, the meaning that I get from my individual experiences, maybe you won't necessarily get. So what I do want to talk about today was, I want to take this opportunity to remind you that that is my class, of what I feel you should take away from your time here. I'm going to focus on the third prong of the school's mission, harboring positive personal growth. As it is Bill Loman's final commencement, I thought I would do something inspired by him and his motto. We hear the phrase, remember who you are and what you stand for, every week at Idlewild Arts, and we often forget what it means. At times, it even seems to solely hold the subtext of, students, don't make any poor decisions this weekend, which mitigates its true meaning. It has become sort of a cliche that through monotonous repetition has lost some of its value. But cliches are cliches for a reason, and the phrase exists because it does embody a truth that we don't necessarily see all the time. The pressures that make people do things they don't want to are ever present and ever pushing. They are part of the world we live in. So if and when we choose to subscribe to them or not, it defines who we are. Those subtle, unconscious choices we make every day that we know are either wrong or right embody our character. The more we can do to be aware of these situations and identifying the pressures, the better people we can be. The second half of Bill's motto, what we stand for, is certainly very different than who we are. It is a choice, which requires conscious thought and a conscious decision. Unlike the definition of who we are, what we stand for can be grasped only through reflexive thought upon personal values. In our future days that we hope to fill with consistent work, it'll be easy to overlook what we stand for. This applies to art as well. I know that in all of our arts, it'll be easy to find ourselves creating something that, for one reason or another, we do not necessarily believe in or agree with. We cannot let ourselves become the people casting shadows on the wall to keep the inhabitants of the cave complacent. Let the shadows we cast lead the cave dwellers to the light. If there's one thing I can hope we all never stop doing, it's thinking and questioning everything. I recently read a book in John Golding's class titled Eichmann in Jerusalem, which I believe is thematically placed around this concept of thought and questioning. Now, excuse me for using the meaningful quote cliche in these graduation speeches, but I must use Hannah Arendt's words to explain. The inability to speak is closely connected to an inability to think, namely, to think from the standpoint of someone else. No communication was possible with him, not because he lied, but because he was surrounded by safeguards against reality. Most people get their quotes from quote books or the internet, and they always sound sort of simple and cute. But I wanted mine to have more depth, because nothing is that simple. Basically what the quote means is that evil takes its course when individuals stop thinking about the repercussions of their actions on a larger scale, what it is they stand for. Arendt also hints toward the other two evils whose bane tolerance will destroy character, that of lies and lack of empathy. To counteract this, I encourage you all, along with constantly questioning, to remember to be honest and compassionate. Honesty comes in two parts. The first part comes in taking responsibility for your actions. To be able to go and take credit publicly for a mistake is one half of honesty. The second half is honesty to yourself. That is, not to make excuses for your actions. People always try to justify their mistakes to themselves by blaming others or blaming unfortunate circumstances out of their control. But if you are able to succeed in being honest with yourself, you'll never make the same mistake twice. The final topic that I want to talk about briefly is in the importance of human compassion. Eichmann had a little empathy for those around him, and that was what condemned him. In accordance with who we are, we cannot lose sight of our relationships with everyone else we share our world with. When we hear about a person passing in our community, we consider it a tragedy. But when we hear about 10,000 people who die in Libya, it's so easy to breeze past. This is because we recognize them as people different than ourselves. It is in this that the greatest fault in humanity arises. Every war in the history of mankind is premised around two groups of people that believe themselves different from each other. They have an inability to empathize based solely on their shared characteristics, being human. As soon as we lose the ability to empathize with others, even in everyday circumstances, we promote evil and terror. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm preaching, but I want my class to realize that we have the power to change the world, as long as we know who we are and take a stand for what we believe in. I represent all of my peers sitting here and genuinely thanking all of our teachers over the past years and inspiring who we have become. I can say that I have not had one teacher, arts or academic, that I have ever not felt a strong personal connection with here. I also must thank the parents who have given their children the space to grow here and let them become part of a truly fantastic place. It has been a pleasure knowing all of you, and on behalf of my peers, I thank you all for what has truly been a fantastic education. Thank you, and I love you all.